Hey everybody, welcome to The Process. I'm Chris, and today we're going to talk about what you need to do during the job interview so you can land the gig. Things about what your mindset should be, the questions you want to ask. So stick around, we're going to give you some great tips. Let me try this again.
I want you guys to listen to me.
Yeah.
I design sandwiches. My name is Jose Caballero, and I talk about the business of design. I talk about a lot of stuff.
My name is Chris Doe, and I talk about the business of design.
At the center of this operating system, it's about understanding.
Jose, can we just tell them what the show title is?
I hate you, dude.
You are watching The Process.
Number one, don't talk about your work. All right, so here are my three main things. You can call them mistakes, you can call them what to do. Number one is don't talk about your work. Talk about the case study of what it is that you're doing.
You need to provide context. When you're showing your work, it's about the design. Give them some context. What's the problem? What's the solution? How did it make sense? It's nice to look at pretty designs, but it's good to see how you problem solve. Number two.
Yes, number two is
ding ding.
related.
Number two.
Share your process. Share your process. And by sharing your process, it's very similar. It's like, how did you come to the conclusions that you came to? Why did you choose the things that you chose? Number three is to ask questions. The interview isn't just about you answering questions. It's also about asking questions of the potential employer. Here's some examples. Can you tell me a little bit what a day like? What is a day like, in the life of a designer here?
Why should you ask questions?
I want to know that the person on the other end that I'm interviewing actually understands what they're getting into, and that they are conscious. That they are conscious of the other person, because I'm really about empathy. Here's another question you can ask. What do you personally need, Mr. Creative Director? I'm interviewing with Chris Doe. I would ask Chris, right now, where your agency's at, what would you need from a designer like me? Boom, and Chris would immediately go, let me think about that. And then he would answer it. And at the end, that answer is a response to how the criteria for him hiring you. So you will know right there that if you didn't meet the criteria, meaning if your work was not what he needed or if who you are wasn't what he needed, you know already that you don't have the job. Wow, that's sad. This is what I call the magic question. This is the holy grail of questions. If the sky opened and your deity of choice gave you the perfect designer to fill this role, what would that look like? And let them describe the profile of that person.
Great.
Ask that at the beginning, because you can then tailor what you're telling them to what they said to you. You're reading it back to them.
Yeah.
And then the fidelity between what they're looking for and what you're telling them will be awesome. That works in dating too.
Let's recap real quick.
Here's what the three questions are. One, don't talk about your work. Talk about case studies. Two, share your process. Three, ask good questions.
I'm just curious, what are some good questions that people can ask?
I'm personally very interested in to see how empathetic the person is and how much they care about, like how are they oriented around a team, because that's how I am. So you want somebody who is like you a little bit. So, what is it like working here? What does a day look like? It's really great. What do you need personally? I really like. What kind of clients do you have? What's your vision for the company? Like, where do you want to take this company and how can I help you get there? Like that. Like somebody asked me that and I'm like, dang, son.
The value of you as a person is reflected in the quality of the questions you ask.
Yes.
So if you ask what time do people show up? That's not a high value question. But asking things like, ideally, what would this person do? Where do you see this going? Those kind of questions open up for dialogue, and definitely do that at the very beginning of the interview, because that allows you to tailor your portfolio to that. And that's a perfect segue into something I want to talk about. Just relax that your work is good enough. The fact that you got an interview means that you're qualified. Understand this, people don't call designers or developers in because they want to just spend time talking to you. So feel confident going in and just relax. Be a good listener. Jose talked a little bit about asking great questions, and now it's time to shut up and just listen, okay? What you need to do is you need to gauge the interest level of the person who's interviewing you. For example, if their eyes light up and they're showing interest in about a logo that you've designed, or maybe it's an identity system or something else, spend time talking about it. And parts, when you're going through your portfolio, if you see no interest, please save yourself. Don't dive deep into that because you're boring people.
Can I add something to that? I'm a nervous person. So a trick that I use for that is have water or
You're
have
a nervous
coffee.
person?
Well, no, I talk too much. If I'm
That's true.
like, yeah, thanks. But like, have water or a drink so that you can do this, and that stops you from talking. And the other thing is, offer for them to flip through your portfolio. Like you don't walk them through it.
Well, there's another way to think about this. When the person is talking, silence the thoughts in your head and play a game. Whoever talks first loses. Just be quiet and listen. Don't be afraid to say, that's a great question, I don't have an answer for you, I'd like to follow up with you later. That beats anything that you're going to make up on the spot. Some of us aren't gifted to be able to answer the questions on the fly. We're just not able to do that, and we feel pressured to answer it, and you make up some crazy answer, and you'll sound ridiculous. So do what they do in football and punt. Be memorable. Keep in mind that the interviewer is talking to several candidates, and you need to stand out. So they're going to remember little things about you. So this is where you let your personality come through. Not in a weird, awkward, annoying way, but maybe they'll remember a particular piece of work. You all right, dude?
Sorry.
Get off my freaking side. Remember that the person who's interviewing you is looking at a lot of candidates throughout the day. It's going to be hard to figure out who they saw and when they saw. So little things that you do will make you memorable. Your personality is going to come through. And just be yourself, relax, and have fun with the person that you're talking to. And you're the person who's going to stick out.
Yes. And it's a good double-edged sword, because I'll tell you why. I mean, my first interview, the first job I got in New York, I wore an orange jumpsuit to the interview. And so you wear an orange jumpsuit.
Like you just escaped out of prison?
In New York, there's no orange for prison. Maybe there is. Who knows? Yes.
Okay.
But the point is not this. The point is this. Some people thought that was just a little too much, so the people who liked that, or who liked me and all the craziness, made offers. The people that didn't.
Right. So what Jose is saying, like his attire is like a great headline. It's self-selecting in terms of who's going to buy into it.
The dude in the orange jumpsuit, we should hire him, right?
Because he's crazy.
Or don't hire that guy.
Right. Now, let's be sensitive to our audience. Chances are, if you're watching the show and you're watching this episode on how to win at an interview, then you're not going to want to like rattle the boat a little too much. That's a really loud statement. Jose can do that because he's really confident in what he can do, and he doesn't really care. Right? At the end of the day, he doesn't care. It's like, I'm not right for you. I'm out. Right? But if you're really looking for a job and you've been striking out, I would like pull that back. When I say be memorable in your personality, be memorable in your work. That's
be authentic. Be real. Like, be real.
Be real.
Yeah. Be real. Hip hop.
Cypress Hill. Okay, last but not least, follow up immediately. That's a sign of professionalism. After the interview, take the time and effort to write a personal note thanking the person who interviewed you, and try to recall something memorable. Now, if you were paying attention, you were listening that time, and you can write something. If there was an interest in sports or something else, write them a note, mail it out the very next day. That's another way to be memorable. You're going to stand out. And you're showing true professionalism. Here are the 5 tips that I'm going to tell you in recapping. 1, relax. Know that if you've got the interview, your work is good enough. 2, be a good listener. Engage interest. Go off the script if necessary. I encourage you to do that. What you're looking for is engagement. 3, don't be afraid to say, good question, let me get back to you if you don't know the answer. So punt. 4, be memorable, be authentic to who you are, and think about how you measure up against everybody else. Be memorable. Lastly, a tip to help you do that is to follow up immediately and do it old school, snail mail. Write a letter, include a personal note, pull out some detail from the conversation. That's it for me.
That's awesome. All right.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you, man.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
We've looked at the work. You want to show me a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, before we started, I just wanted to contextualize how I show you my work. So tell me a little bit about your vision for Blind and where you want to take it and what kind of work you want to do.
Wow, that's a deep question. Okay, let me think about that a little bit. For us, what we're trying to do is to pivot out of being a motion design firm exclusively into being the digital agency of the future, to incorporate a lot of branding, design identity, and most of it is centered around strategy.
Got it. So if I show you a case study of a project that I did at my previous employer that shows the strategy, that shows the process a little bit,
I'd love to see
the
it.
results. Cool.
Yeah.
Let me show you that.
Okay.
Boom, boom, boom.
That's great.
Yeah. Cool.
What else you got?
Another question that I would have for you. So you personally, as executive creative director, as lead strategist, what are the things you need to be able to succeed? What could I bring to the table as a designer that would help you personally?
Personally, I'm looking for somebody who's really driven, who's a self-starter, who takes initiative, and not somebody who is waiting to be told what the next step is. Those are people that I find that it's a lot harder to work with.
I'm stopping myself from talking right there because in my head I'm saying like, that's me, dude. I'm totally a self-starter.
You thirsty?
That's no, but you know, you get an emotional response to some of the things that the other person says, and you want to answer right away.
That's all we got for you, but
How do you engage with us, Chris? How do you contact us, reach us?
reach us on the internet
Yeah.
via Twitter. I'm at @theChrisDoe, and you are?
At Jose Caballero.
Like this video if you like it. Leave a comment below. You know where.
Subscribe.
All right. See you guys next time.